What's up everyone, it's Meloy, and today I wanted to bring you a guide on one of the best ways for you to level your shadow for the Legacy of Phrecia event. Now, this is especially great if you want to go into a bow build, either with Blind Prophet or, in my case, Surfcaster. I'm gonna be playing Surfcaster Lightning Arrow, but you know, Lightning Arrow is not that great for leveling, so I'm leveling with Toxic Rain. If you want to know about what I'm planning to do with Lightning Arrow and Surfcaster, I'm gonna have a link down below for that build guide. But for now, let's talk about Toxic Rain. As you can see here, we already have 500,000 damage. That's quite insane for, you know, this is for your red, late yellow red maps. That's gonna be at the point you're gonna be getting this damage. And it's quite good for that place, right? You'll mostly be killing everything in 1 or 2 shots still. You're just gonna be blasting and hopefully being able to swap to either a Lightning Arrow Surfcaster build like myself or into something else that you want to play with. Both Surfcaster and Blind Prophet look super promising. Whichever way you go, you cannot go wrong. Now, this build guide has a ton of sections for you to follow. All of these are correspondent to the leveling brackets of each act. So, as long as you mostly closely follow them, right? It doesn't matter if you first take the one to the right or the one to the left. As long as you're within these level brackets, you're gonna be good, G. Now, all of them, one thing I want you to pay attention, sometimes I'm gonna just be taking masteries, right? Sometimes I don't take a mastery right away because some other points are more important. But as we get into the later stages of the build, I'm just gonna start taking masteries here and there. So keep your eyes open for that. Now, one thing I do want to point out, we do get Onslaught quite easily on this build, thanks to this node here, so we don't have to worry about getting it on the Flasks. When it comes to our skills, we're gonna be getting mostly 3 setups here. One for Act 1 to 2, one for Act 3 to 5, and then Act 6 onwards. The reason I split them up like this is because you're mostly locked behind your quest progression for the skill gems you can get. So this is the reason I placed them like this. Starting off with Caustic Arrow. First, before we actually go into it, I do want to point out that things like Caustic Arrow, Toxic Rain and stuff like that, you're gonna need to buy it from the vendor. You don't get them as quest rewards, but you get them at level 1 whenever you've completed the first quest. The vendor will have Caustic Arrow for you, which you should be able to buy with a simple Scroll of Wisdom. And at level 12, I believe, you're going to be able to buy Toxic Rain. This, maybe even earlier, I believe. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Just watch out. Some of this you need to buy from the vendor. That's what I want to point out. Starting off now with Caustic Arrow, you're going to be linking it with Void Manipulation and Efficacy. This just increases our damage a lot. And they're the only gems you can actually get for Chaos damage over time skills early on. But again, for the Act 1 and 2, I mostly expect you to have 3 link setups. I don't expect more, because I don't even think you can get 4 links till late Act 2 anyway. Now, for our second link, we're gonna have Toxic Rain with Mirage Archer and Void Manipulation. The thing here is, I expect you to cast Toxic Rain every now and again, and mostly do your damage with Caustic Arrow. Caustic Arrow early on does a lot more damage, but it does fall off later on, because you cannot stack Caustic Arrow damage, because damage mostly comes from the Caustic Ground, I believe, whatever it's called. And you cannot stack Caustic Grounds on top of each other, so as you start getting more attack speed and stuff like that, Caustic Arrow loses a lot of damage. Toxic Rain, on the other hand, does not. So from Act 6 onwards, you're gonna be swapping into a full Toxic Rain setup, but till then, we're gonna be relying on Caustic Arrow for most of our damage. We're gonna have another Toxic Rain setup, however. This one linked with Ballista Totem. This just means, especially on harder, like rare mobs or unique bosses, you can just put a couple of Ballista Totems down to help you blast them down super fast. Lastly, we're gonna have our mobility skills. We're gonna have Flame Dash, linked with faster casting, and we're also gonna have Smoke Mine for the situations that Flame Dash cannot quite make it. Actually, now properly, lastly, we're gonna have Summon Skitterbot. This is, I think, the only skill here that you're only gonna be able to get on Act 2, but it's just gonna make surviving much easier because you have the slow from chill, and you also have chalk to increase our damage, which is gonna be great. Now, going on to Act 3 and 5, the biggest difference is we're gonna start working with 4 links, right? So for the Caustic Arrow, you're gonna add Vicious Projectiles. One thing I do want to mention on the Vicious Projectile, I actually have a note here. You must buy them from Ciosa on Act 3. This is the quest where you go around in the library collecting 4 pages, and whenever you complete the quest, you're gonna be able to buy from Ciosa, this vendor. This is the only vendor you actually need to have the currency in your inventory to buy the gems, so watch out for that. Going back to the skills, for Toxic Rain, we're just gonna add efficacy to it. For our mobility setup, we're gonna add Second Wind if we can. This is not super major. The most important thing here is also to add efficacy to this Toxic Rain setup. We're gonna have another aura, actually, adding. It's gonna be Purity of Elements. This is gonna make leveling way better. You're gonna have a lot of resists, right? And you're gonna be immune to elements. This is really great, especially against chill and frozen, so you don't even have to worry about it. And it's also really nice against shock and ignites, so you don't die too easily. We're also gonna add a curse setup to our build. This is mostly, again, whenever you actually have tough enemies that you need to put your ballistas down, you want to throw Despair in as well. Lastly, we're gonna have a Summon Stone Golem. This is just, we have the extra slot, and it just gives us a bit of life regen, which is also, you know, which is appreciative, right? We appreciate that. Okay, going on to Act 6. This is when we start working with Toxic Rain for the most part. As you can see here, I have a 6 link setup. I don't expect you to have the 6 link right on Act 6, but since this is the setup from Act 6 to maps, I do have it here. Just follow the order of the gems whenever you get another link. Like, till you have 4 links, you just go up to efficacy. If you get the 5th link, you take Vicious Projectiles. If you somehow get the 6th link super early on, you go for Swift Affliction. We also have another Toxic Rain setup here, now with Mana Forge Arrows, but it follows a similar situation. You just go Mana Forge Arrows, Toxic Rain, Void Manipulations for the 3 link. If you get 4 link, you go Efficacy, 5 link, Vicious Projectiles, 6 link, Swift Affliction, right? For our mobility setup, it's gonna stay the same. On our ballista, stays the same. But when we actually get into our auras, we're gonna be slotting in Malevolence now. Since at this point you're gonna have enough points to have a lot of reservation efficiency around the build, you're gonna be able to run Malevolence. This is one of the best ways for you to scale your chaos damage because it's more damage over time, and increased skill effect duration is also nice. Our curse is still gonna be Despair, right? Now, going on to the items we're gonna be running on this build, right? First of all, Quillbrain, right? Actually, let me mention something while we're here. You can see a lot of these builds have 3 extra points, right? Somewhere here. It's because I'm taking a jewel slot here to run the Surfcaster jewel. The only actual thing we're gonna be running is Ghost of the Deep, but because the other ones don't quite scale super well, but since I do want to go Surfcaster later on, I'm just taking this. It's enough for the build. Toxic Rain is just super good regardless, right? But the reason every single setup has 2 extra points after Act 5, I believe, is because I need to put this jewel in so I can actually get the Ghost of the Deep buffs, right? Now, actually going into the items, as you can see, the only unique I want you to have is a Quillbrain. This scales Toxic Rain super nice because it has a ton of attack speed, and projectile speed, you know, is also super nice. But the stat that a lot of people miss here is the mana for enemy hit with your attacks. It just makes sustaining our mana that much easier. Now, the rest of the gear, I mostly expect you to just get, you know, a couple of life here and there, right? For the most part. There's only a couple of ways for you to scale your damage with Toxic Rain, that being attack speed, chaos damage over time, and, you know, damage over time and damage over time multiplier, and chaos damage over time multiplier. There's no real other ways for you to properly scale the damage. besides getting levels to your skills, which is not going to be super easy early on. You might be able to get an amulet like this with a single roll for somewhat cheap, but anything besides that, you're not going to be able to get, right? But again, for the most part, just, get resists, get life, so, you're a bit more tanky. Now, one thing I do want to mention, especially early on Act 1 and 2, for Act 1, you would want to try to have a lot of cold resist, because the last boss on that act does a lot of cold damage, and for Act 2, you want to have a lot of lightning resist, because again, the last boss for that act does a lot of lightning damage. After that, you should try to balance them as best as you can, but no, it is what it is. Now, oh yeah, and you also want to try to get attributes on your gear. Now, when it comes to flasks, nothing fancy here, just grant blood immunity and bleed immunity, right? You also want to, if you can, get an enduring mana flask. This is mostly because it does not remove the mana regen when it fills your mana bar, so you can just, not have to worry too much about it. You probably should not have to worry too much about it because you have a lot of mana on hit things, but, just in case, it's there. The other flasks are going to be a Jade Flask, of course, to increase evasion rating. A Granite Flask, for a bit of armor. This is going to help you a good amount early on, especially against the exploding spiked enemies, right? And Quicksilver, so you move faster. The faster you move, the faster you can get things done, and, the more currency you can make, basically. This is mostly it for the build. I do hope you can, you find the guide helpful, especially with all the different brackets for the skill tree, right? But yeah, hope that you have fun with the build. Let me know down below how you feel about the build, if you have any feedback about the build, and subscribe for more PoE content till the next Diablo 4 season. But yeah, see you next time.